Hi, welcome to Tuesday Tips. Do you ever wonder about or worry about when your aging parents are going on vacation or they're considering taking a trip and it makes you a little nervous? Or even all of us as we age, what are some special considerations that we might have, for traveling when we, get to those golden years? So today for Tuesday Tips, we're going to answer some of those questions, and I'm going to offer you, we have a blog post. It's going to have a deeper dive to go into more details. But again, my name is Pam Dunwald. I am one of your nurse advocates, and you are watching this video. We are live in our community forum, so I encourage everyone that's seeing this video is to think about joining us. Where it's a place where it's a safe place where we can talk about taking care of aging parents, whether it's venting, discussing, reaching out, asking questions, learning from people that have walked that same journey as you have. So consider popping over to that, and we'll have those details in the description of the video. But anyway, let's get started. So a couple of things that you want to consider when you have if you're an aging parent, if you have an aging parent or you are of Medicare age and you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you have to be really sure some Advantage plans will not cover you if you leave the country. And so maybe you're not planning an African safari, but maybe you're going to Alaska and you're going to spend a day or two in Canada, in Vancouver, and you need to see a doctor. Now, many of them will cover emergency visits in a foreign country, but some of your Advantage plans do not. So if you're going to get about, in those golden years and like to travel, you want to make sure that your insurance is going to cover you if you are out of the country. Or even, and here's another example, our snowbirds. If you live in the Midwest in one of the cold states like we do, we live in Wisconsin, if you're going to snowbird it to Arizona or Texas or Florida and you have a Medicare Advantage plan, they're usually very specific as far as your network. So you can't have two primary care providers. So say if you have your insurance here in Wisconsin and you're going to spend 6 months of the year, 3-4 months of the year in another destination, you're not going to be able to have two primary care providers, which means you're going to have all your medicines and everything ready to go for the amount of time that you're going to be gone. So that's something to take into consideration with your lifestyle when you're looking at a insurance plan or a Medicare Advantage or a Medicare supplement plan. And so you'll have to make sure you get those medicines ahead of time. And the other thing is yes, you should be covered, to double check, but you should be covered for any type of any emergency care that you would need, but your doctor would have to be in one place or the other. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about traveling. One of the things I like to caution people is if anyone is traveling and they're using oxygen, that higher altitude is going to cause you to have more of an oxygen demand. So you may have to have your oxygen at a higher liter level when you're flying. And so think about that when you're looking at if you have an oxidizer, like your portable little thing that you can wear that turns, the oxygen, takes the oxygen out of the air and concentrates that, those little things. Or if you need to check with the airlines and see what their requirements are for traveling with oxygen, because you want to make sure that you have enough. Talk to the doctor as far as what altering the amount of oxygen that you may need while you're flying. If you have chronic obstructive lung disease and you are what we call a CO2 retainer, and those of you that would understand what I'm talking about, is turning up the oxygen may not be in the best interest of you, because you lose your drive to breathe when you turn up the oxygen, which is very contradicted to most people. So I don't want to get deep in the weeds there. All I'm saying is please check with your doctor before you fly to get some advice, or a respiratory therapist to get some advice on how to adjust your oxygen when you fly so that you're more comfortable. The number of Americans over the age of 72 is expected to double by 2030. And these are facts and statistics that we've all been made aware of. But what it says, the majority of these seniors will be traveling. A recent study found that 70% 74% of adults aged 75 years of age or older who travel outside their home country for vacations are likely to face mobility limitations. And so walkers, canes, scooters, wheelchairs, consider all of those. One thing in our blog post, and like I said, I'm going to include the link. There is a nice little checklist that you can download from the blog post that will help you be prepared for traveling. So let's look at some other things. There are senior friendly travel destinations. And so they have, all first floor accommodations. They have a lot of things that cater to the seniors. And so those are great, pre-planned type vacations to take a look at that, that your needs can be met. One warning about traveling long distances in a car. When especially as you age, you're more prone to, you're not as active and not as mobile, and you're more prone to blood clots in your legs. So traveling in a car for long periods of time, hours at a time, is really not a great idea. Every couple of hours, you should stop, find a rest stop, or plan some activities or things that you want to do along the way to your destination so that you can get out and walk around and get that circulation and get the circulation in your legs moving to help reduce that risk of blood clots. So you want to make sure that you're taking that into consideration for long car rides. So we talked about choosing your destination wisely, making sure that you're sharing all the information. Make sure that if they're flying, that a family member, has all the flight information. Create an emergency contact list before they leave the house. Who do they need to contact in case there's any problems? Make sure that they have their medicines, their eyeglasses, and that they're making plans to get enough sleep. So we talked about senior-friendly destinations. We talked about some medical needs. We talked about whether or not you need to travel with oxygen. Make sure, this is another thing. When you're traveling, you want to make sure that your medicines are put in your bag that you can put under your seat, your personal carry-on item, or your carry-on. You don't want to put all your medications and that into your suitcase in case that suitcase gets lost, because oftentimes you're not going to be able to get refills until a week or so. And so you want to make sure that you're having the medications with you on your person, especially if you have an in-network pharmacy and you're out of town, you can't get your medicines from an in-network. So it will just create a lot of red tape to try and replace those medications quickly. Here's another thing. If you have an ileostomy or colostomy, or ileostomy or a colostomy, you want to make sure that you have enough of those supplies ready for you when you're traveling. Again, consider the weather. Our elders, the skin is much more delicate, more prone to bruising, skin tears, sunburns. So you want to make sure that light, long sleeves are good things to make sure that you have. Layers, sweaters in case you get chilly. But you just make sure you have all your supplies with you. Create a list of must-haves for the trip. Look at your destinations and check each one. Are there any restrictions? Do they have any oxygen restrictions? Are they wheelchair accessible? Are there going to be a lot of stairs? So you want to make sure that you're checking out your destinations. And I'll tell you one story, and then I'll cut this short. We don't like to get too long on these Tuesday tips, but if you have elderly parents that are traveling with dementia, I had a very, very concerning experience. We were traveling, and I was traveling alone to a conference. And so when I was getting ready to go home, and we were waiting to board the plane, and it was very obvious that I saw an elderly husband and wife, and it was very obvious that he had dementia. He was wandering off. The wife had to go bring him back. He was confused. It was, she was having to talk him through step by step everything. And when we boarded the plane, She boarded first. She was way in the back of the plane, nowhere near. So she didn't pay the extra money to be able to sit with her husband. And fortunately, the husband sat next to me on the plane because he didn't know how to open up the crack. He was eating the package of cookies. He tried eating that with the wrapper on. I asked him if he got something to drink. I didn't know what he liked. I didn't know what he could have. I had no way of reaching, his wife at that time. And he was obviously very confused. And I babysat him, and I use that term with endearment, not to be disrespectful, but I was glad that I was a nurse and that I was there next to him because I was comfortable with him being confused. It didn't scare me, and it didn't, I knew what to do and I knew how to handle him. And so when we got to our destination, we got off the plane and he followed me. He would have followed me wherever I went. So I stopped the flight attendant and I said, please, I said, he has dementia. He's very confused. His wife is at the back of the plane. I don't want him to get lost. And so she was amazing. She took over. She had him sit right there in the flight attendant's seat in the front of the plane and waited for his wife to come. And I didn't stick around. I'll be honest, I was a little irritated that she had left him in that type of a situation. I know it can be very burdensome, and I know it's hard, but it just kind of broke my heart. So these are all kinds of things that you want to take into consideration when you're traveling with your aging parents, or they're traveling on their own, and make sure that you're taking all these things into consideration. So enough about that. I'm drop the link for the blog post. It goes into a lot more details. We've got that checklist there that you can download, and we will see you either in the forum or we will see you back on a video in the future for Tuesday tips. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.